Neither the White House or his attorneys have announced any plans for the president to testify, but there are already some in Congress who are suggesting he may be deposed by the special counsel.
Margaret, you mentioned that threatening legal action is a tactic the president used quite a bit in private life, even during the campaign. Has that history informed the reaction in Washington as people are thinking and talking about this latest legal threat today?
Well, the president, as a private citizen and then again on the campaign trail running for this office, has made a virtue out of punching back harder, he likes to say. And so perhaps not surprising to have the threat of some kind of legal action. But let me be clear here. We're not talking about major lawsuits in response to James Comey. The legal grounds for this are very much in question. What they're looking at right now is early next week filing complaints with the Inspector General at the Justice Department, which is sort of an internal policeman for the Justice Department, and then also complaint to the Senate, particularly the Senate Judiciary Committee, which oversees the Justice Department. So that's a complaint. We're not yet talking about some sort of bigger lawsuit, or if there are even grounds for them. It's something that the team is looking at. They're trying to gather information right now. But certainly, the threat of legal action is always seen as sort of dissuading. But I think in the court of public opinion, for those who aren't following these issues very closely, like those in Washington, they may just hear the headline and think that this is, again, part of that political attempt to paint James Comey as just part of the Washington establishment and not someone to be taken credibly, even though he's not only an attorney, but the former head of the FBI and very clear and knowledgeable about the lines of what is sensitive, what is classified, and what he could say during that testimony. He chose his words carefully.
All right, Margaret, so on another note, the president, for the first time on Friday, confirmed his commitment to NATO's Article 5, which says an attack on one member country is an attack on all, something he did not do in Brussels last month. How significant is it that he's saying this now?
Well, it was significant that the president, when asked directly by a European reporter from the Romanian press corps, a member of NATO, because this really helps to calm some rattled nerves among some of America's closest allies, not just rhetorically, but on the battlefield. You heard the president thank the Romanian leader for the Romanians who have died in Afghanistan fighting there alongside American troops. And it's something that in the past the president hasn't acknowledged, that yes, NATO actually does engage against terrorism. They've been on the battlefield in Afghanistan against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, now ISIS, alongside America for 15 years or more. And then his commitment as well to helping to build up defenses there helps to calm those nerves about the threat from Russia. Remember, that is why NATO was founded in the first place, to sort of push back, well, to directly push back against Russian power in Europe. So this will calm some very rattled nerves within Europe. And it was significant to hear the Romanian president say today that they will pledge more than 2% of their own GDP on military spending, something that the president has really pushed hard for other NATO members to do. He said, pay your fair share. He's been very blunt. Something American presidents have often complained about is that a lot of these other members don't meet their own standard for spending on their own defense. And the president today was able to say he got Romania to do so.
Finally, Margaret, one more piece of international news that came out of this press conference. The president again commenting on Qatar, saying it has historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level. What's the relevance and importance of these comments?
Well, look, the entire U.S. air campaign against ISIS is centrally controlled out of this very important airbase located in this tiny little emirate called Qatar. There's more than 10,000 U.S. troops there. This is incredibly important to the U.S. military campaign. And so that is why there's so much focus on this spike, this diplomatic crisis in the Middle East right now with this blockade of Qatar. So for the president to speak as strongly as he did, just a few hours after his own Secretary of State called for that blockade to be eased and really in very careful diplomatic language laid out what he said, yes, we'd like to see more cracking down on money that may be going to terrorists from people in Qatar. You've made progress. We want more. But we're really worried not only about the U.S. military, we're worried about food shortages, he said. We're worried about the humanitarian impact. And then the president from the Rose Garden didn't say any of those things. He didn't say anything about the humanitarian issue or the difficulty for the U.S. military. He doubled down on that being a hardline position against Qatar and actually thanked Saudi Arabia, which is the country that has really been leading the charge on that blockade. So afterwards, the White House has gone to great pains, so has the State Department, in trying to say both gentlemen said the exact same thing, but our allies didn't hear that, and I know from talking to diplomatic sources, people overseas did not hear the same thing from the President of the United States and his chief diplomat, Rex Tillerson.
All right, Margaret Brennan for us at the White House. Thank you.